Personally, I've never really liked smartwatches, but I could see myself using a Pixel Watch 2 for quite some time. Not because it's super awesome or because it can do a million things, but because it can do a few select things like health, stress, and sleep tracking really well, while also addressing some of the biggest complaints of last year's iteration. Releasing with improved battery life, speedy performance, and a wealth of new health-related sensors, the Pixel Watch 2 is a surprisingly solid smartwatch with a lot of big changes we need to talk about. Probably the most important upgrade this year is the new 4nm Snapdragon W5 chip that is now replacing the 5-year-old Exynos 9110 from the Pixel Watch 1. During my 11 days with the device, performance and battery life seemed to benefit the most from this new SoC. Side by side with the first-gen Pixel Watch, it's pretty easy to see smoother animations, apps opening faster, and no more of the occasional lag, at least with what I've seen so far. The same upgrade transfers over to battery life as well. Google says you should be able to get 24 hours with always on display activated, and during my usage period, I would say that's pretty accurate. My typical day starts at around 9 a.m. Throughout the day, I'm answering some light phone calls, managing notifications, and initiating Google Assistant inquiries. Towards the end of the day, I normally like to go for an hour-long walk or so and then use the watch for sleep tracking throughout the night. By the time I wake up the next morning, I am right at the low battery mark, probably within 10 to 15%. Keep in mind, this is with always on display enabled, and every single sensor that I know of is activated for health tracking. So yes, the battery can officially last 24 hours, but in practice, you will find yourself topping up often, whether it's in the mornings when you wake up or at nights before you go to bed. Personally, I still think the battery could be better, and maybe it will over time once the adaptive battery figures out my usage patterns, but at least for now, you can make it through a whole day without any compromises or turning off any features, which is a great improvement over last year's Pixel Watch 1. The second greatest improvement with the Pixel Watch 2 is with health features and metrics. The first-gen Pixel Watch was already pretty great in this area, but now we have a new multipath heart rate sensor that should be 40% more accurate when tracking during workouts. We also get skin temperature tracking, safety check, which notifies emergency contacts if you don't check in with them after a certain amount of time, and a CEDA sensor that can detect stress levels, which will prompt you to log your mood in the Fitbit app. This is the right direction for Google to go, in my opinion, and for casual fitness users or the body conscious, you should find yourself getting a lot of use out of it. Multiple times I've gotten the prompt when I was stressed out, which kind of made me take a step back and evaluate the situation I was dealing with at the time. Not to mention, a ton of last year's Fitbit features returned too, like workout tracking, sleep monitoring, personalized heart rate zones, exercise goals, with the biggest benefit still being the Fitbit app. Not only did it get a Material You refresh to match the Pixel aesthetic, but it just straight up is simple to use and addictive. The dedicated Fitbit app has deep access to a wide variety of fitness metrics and Fitbit Coach workouts under the premium plan that has a large library of pre-recorded workouts for strength training, yoga, stress management, cardio, and more. Of course, value is subjective to each individual person, but to me, this is what I wanted most out of a smartwatch. Just something simple that connects to my phone, gamifies fitness goals, and can give me a clean overview on how my body's doing while also doing the normal smartwatch things like notifications, phone calls, music controls, and much more. Lastly, the build is the final huge change we should be aware of on the Pixel Watch 2. First, the stainless steel casing we saw on last year's watch is now being replaced with a cheaper, lighter, polished aluminum case instead. At first, this seemed like a step back, and for durability reasons, it probably is. But in my opinion, this change seems to be made for the fitness crowd where they expect devices to be as lightweight as possible. I would say Google accomplished this goal considering the Pixel Watch 2 comes in at 31 grams from the previous 36 on the Pixel Watch 1. Alongside a new aluminum body, we also got some upgrades to some of the smaller aspects of the design, like stronger, more satisfying haptics and a smoother, albeit more sensitive digital crown. Probably the most unexpected change to the build this year is the new metal contact pins on the back for charging. This means wireless charging has been officially removed, and now you can only charge your device through this proprietary charger. The immediate benefits are stronger magnets, and you can get a full charge in 75 minutes as opposed to 110 with last year's method. On one hand, I can understand why Google made this change, but from an ease of use perspective, I would have rather had wireless charging. Not only is Is it more widely available? But any possible chance of reverse wireless charging is definitely not going to happen anymore. Touching on watch bands real quick, we do have the same proprietary connectors that were introduced in the Pixel Watch 1. I find the process of removing and adding new bands to be pretty simple after getting used to it. As expected, Pixel Watch 1 bands work fine here. I bought a Spigen nylon strap a few weeks before the Pixel Watch 2 came out, and it fits perfectly on this new watch. Also, I did get some hands-on time with the new Active Sport band that was released with the Watch 2. Most notably, those perforated holes should make it easier for your skin to breathe. Nothing crazy, however, it's a nice addition for the fitness-focused crowd. Now, let's close this review with a quick list of things that I like and things that I didn't really like with the Pixel Watch 2. Starting with the dislikes first is lack of wireless charging. Not only is wireless charging more mainstream, like I said previously, but the metal contact pins on the back of the watch do make my sensitive skin break out from time to time, so I see myself unfortunately having to rotate the watch between wrists for the foreseeable future. On top of that, something doesn't feel right about having to pay for a subscription on a $350 smartwatch. This subscription will get you access to all the Fitbit features like breakdowns of your sleep and stress management scores, or access to the Fitbit Coach workouts. Yes, the metrics you can see in the free tier are helpful, so most might not even need the premium option, and personally, this premium tier does make sense for the cheaper $150 Fitbits. But for a top tier smartwatch that starts at $350, having to pay an extra $80 a year is hard to justify unless you really love fitness. Something I see brought up often is the lack of a larger watch size as well. This is something people have been asking for since the first gen watch, and even though I don't need it, everywhere I look, people are leaving feedback requesting it or wish the option was at least available. Lastly, my final dislike has to do with the lack of hands-free gestures. I know this has only become a popular topic recently with Apple's double tap feature. Either way, a version similar to that would be perfect on a Pixel Watch. As for the likes, we can go over these real quick since I've kind of alluded to most of these throughout the review. For starters, I love the Fitbit app because of how simple it is to use. Personally, I find these sleep tracking metrics to be the best part. It can show you not only how long you slept, but also get into detail over what specific time periods you were in deep sleep as opposed to a light sleep. In fact, once I started wearing this watch to sleep and getting the data, I started to realize I was literally destroying my body with lack of sleep, which led me to changing some of my sleep habits. Since we're on sleep habits, I have to say the dome-shaped design is surprisingly great to sleep with, especially when using bedtime mode and a nylon band for comfort. Never in a million years would I ever see myself as the person that falls asleep with a watch on because I always find it so distracting, but the small size and curved corners get it as close as possible to a comfortable experience. One last thing I have to mention is taking phone calls on this watch is awesome. Normally, watches I use have some kind of audio problems. Either they can't hear me or I can't hear them. On the Pixel Watch 2, callers told me that I sounded crystal clear and I had no problems hearing them on the speakerphone during a workout. At the end of the day, the Pixel Watch 2 is setting the series in the right direction. With a whole built-in system for health tracking metrics, exercise reminders, and sleep monitoring, this is exactly what I want from a secondary device that's supposed to blend into the background. I would say the biggest question I have now is how much better can the experience get from here? I feel this watch can finally be competitive with Apple and Samsung, and since we have a strong base to work off, I'm expecting Google to start implementing some features that actually disrupt the smartwatch market instead of playing catch up. Let me know what you think about the Pixel Watch 2 this year. Did you get the upgrades you were looking for? Do you think the Pixel Watch 2 is finally in a good place now? Leave a comment and let me know, but in the meantime, guys, I'm getting out of here. This has been Jordan Floyd with 9to5 Google. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.